Welcome back, everybody, to the Two versus Brother podcast. I'm here again with Alfredo Ramirez. How are you doing, Alfredo?
Good, man. Good. Ready for our weekly discussion. Um, I know a lot of controversies and questions about these NFL playoffs, so looking forward to start.
Alrighty. Let's give the first topic of the day. Does Tua Tagovailoa deserve a contract extension? I'll start with you, Alfredo.
Well, this is a very controversial topic with Tua, and everything that Tua brings. As I said, there's two sides. There's the Tuanons, and then also the non-believers. I try to be more in the middle. So, if you ask me this question around the midweek point of the season, if Tua deserves an extension, I would say yes. So, just for information purposes, so Tua will be entering his 5-year option now coming up into the 2024 season. Usually by this time, you can already get an extension and have, longer term contract. A lot of his partners from the 2020 draft has already have their long term contract. For example, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Jalen Hurts, they already have their long term. So if you ask me in the middle of the season, if Tua, I would say yes. But unfortunately, questions about how he would perform down the stretch has convinced me otherwise. That I would take a proactive approach, meaning a cautious one, of not giving him this extension. Not going crazy of giving a record contract. Right now, quarterbacks, I would say Pedro, they're around $45 million to 50. The top ends, they're around $50 million, in which you guys will be able to see the top earning quarterbacks. So Tua is a little bit right below that. Now, what I do is, if I am Chris Greer, I will not do it, and this is the reason. I'm gonna put in some stats here that I was able to research, and also people that have put this. For example, Alan Popart, that he want to give him credit because he's the one who put a lot of these statistics that I want to mention, and these are points that are good. For example, Tua, as we know, he had 4,624 yards passing for the number one ranking for the 2023 season. He had in 2022 105.5 passer ratings. So comparing from 2022 to 2023, a lot of the stats that you see have been downturned. Now, why does he have more yards? Because he has played more games. But his passer ratings compared from 2022 is down. His interceptions total per game is higher. And I have some stats here for Tua, and we can actually look it up. So looking at the stats here, 2022, Tua had 25 touchdown passes compared to 8 with a 105.5 QB rating. 2023, mind you, he played more games here. He had 29 touchdown passes and 14 interceptions with a 101.1 rating. So there, do you see progression there, Pedro? Let's ask you there.
Progression or regression?
Well, do you think he's progressing?
When you put it like that, no. It looks like he's not progressing. It looks like he's getting worse.
Okay, good. So we're going here with more of my point. Playoff teams, completion percentage against, and here's the main question with playoff teams. Non-playoff teams, he had a 71.7 completion percentage with 22 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, and 110.7 passer rating. Against the 7 playoff opponents, it went down from 71 to 62.8 completion percentage, 8 touchdowns, 7 picks, and an 80.2 passer ratings. What do you see there? Do you see him competing against good teams?
I see him struggling. Correct.
Okay. Clutch. Dolphins face six fourth quarter comeback situations. Do you know how much did he ended up winning out of those 6 times for 2023?
Let me know.
2. In the opener against the Chargers and in that Dallas victory. But they failed against the Eagles. Do you know what happened in that game against the Eagles? He threw an interception. Regular season against the Chiefs, he fumbled. Monday night against Tennessee, remember what happened there. And in week 18 against Buffalo, what did he do? He threw an INT. Tua had a 67.8 passer rating in 2023 with the Dolphins trailing less than 4 minutes remaining. His career average is 68.0 in that same category. So in other words, when the Dolphins are trailing and it's less than 4 minutes, instead of him having better passer rating, he had a 67.8. Okay? Now, how are the other competitors? Because remember, we're going to be looking at the contracts, and as you see, the salaries of the quarterbacks, how they are. With the same example, Lamar Jackson, with the team trailing and less than 4 minutes, 118.2. Joe Burrow, 107.4 quarterback rating. Josh Allen, 98.8 quarterback rating. Patrick Mahomes, 88.8. CJ Stroud, 107.9 in his rookie season in 2023 when their team is trailing and there's 4 minutes to go. Does that tell you if Tua's clutch or not?
Sure. It doesn't look like he has the clutch gene so far in the NFL.
Exactly. Exactly. Now, a lot of the comparisons is, and they say, well, Tua is the best quarterback since Dan Marino, right? Well, I'm going to
Correct.
throw more stats. Jay Fiedler. Those that don't remember Jay Fiedler, he was the starting quarterback right away from when Dan Marino retired from 1999 to I think like 2002, 2003.
Mm-hmm.
His winning percentage when he was with the Dolphins, he was 35 and 17, his winning percentage. Do you know what's Tua's winning percentage?
Let me know.
The same.
Hmm.
So, they have the same type of winning percentage, same type.
Mm.
Um, they were basically helped by strong defense because Tua's first couple of years with Flores, their defense was very good.
Mm-hmm.
They had strong weapons because Fiedler had Ricky Williams, Tua had Tyreek. And again, this is not a point. I love Tua and I hope he's successful. But he really, really let me down with what happened. And if you look at through our previous videos that we have had in the all 22 films, there was opportunities that Tua missed. Um, Passes that he could have easily thrown. And at certain moments, he just chokes. So for me, what I would do, I would continue with the 5-year term, and then let's see what happens next year. If he balls out, I have no problem paying him. If he doesn't, then then I will start then asking questions if this is the quarterback that I want for my team.
Okay, Alfredo. So basically, right now you're saying that he does not deserve to get an extension this year,
No,
this offseason.
not at all.
All right. Well, I'm going to go on the contrary. I'm going to say he deserves to get an extension this year. Basically, for some of the reasons why I'm going to give, you're gonna understand why I'm giving them when after I'm done. Um, just by looking at Tua Tagovailoa's his career stats, yes, he has the first year that he played 10 games. This was the year that he had what's it called? He had the issue with a with his quarterback, his other quarterback contemporary playing in the same time that he did. That kind of stuff happens. This is the NFL, and unfortunately, always the best man plays. Ryan Fitzpatrick had to play because he was the best person to play. So that year, I'm going to throw it out. I'm not going to talk about that year because it's not, to me, it doesn't seem to be. It didn't need to happen. Now we're going to go into 2021. 16 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. Not a good year, but basically that's a decent rookie year because I'm considering that to be his rookie year. Tagovailoa also had the 25 touchdowns and 8 interceptions in 2022, and he only played 13 games. This was a year where his breakout happened. This is when we were looking at Tua and we were saying this guy is the guy for the future. Once we start looking into 2023,
He played 13 games, right?
13 games, and
Okay.
he 25 touchdowns, 8 interceptions.
Okay.
If obviously he would have had a lot more. It looks even just by the stats of everything that happened, he would have had a lot more if he would have played without the concussions, without everything that happened.
Well, you do know that his touchdown average compared to this year is lower.
No, I know that. This is why I'm getting into that. Now, to compare his stats to somebody that has almost very similar situation, I'm going to compare it to. You have to compare it to the best, and the best in this game is Tom Brady. So when I go into Tom Brady's stats, first year it was basically a redshirt year. He didn't do anything year 2000. Forget about that game. Forget about that one game where he had one completion. We're not talking about that. We're talking about 2001. In 2001, he had 15 games played. He had 18 touchdowns to 12 interceptions, and yards was 2,800. Now, I'm going to compare that to the same yards that we have here. Obviously, the game has changed since Tom Brady took the field in the second year. We so far has 2,653 yards in Tua's 2021 year. That is down from Brady's 2,843. But it's similar numbers on the touchdown, 16 to 18. And he played 15 games to Tua's 13. Now, we're going to come back and we're going to check 2022. And then Tom Brady's 2002 season. 25 touchdowns, 3,548 yards for Tua with 8 interceptions, to 2002 Tom Brady with 28 touchdowns, 14 interceptions, 3,764 yards. Do you see any kind of similarity?
Yeah, I see it.
You see the similarity. Now,
Different era.
tell me, Alfredo, because you've been watching the game a lot longer than I have, and you remember, just like I remember, but you remember better, Tom Brady's first 3 years in the league. Was it all defense and some running game with sprinkles in of Tom Brady?
Yeah. They were Bill Belichick's team were those times, dominant by the defense, and they had a great running game.
So, and you brought up the comparison to Jay Fiedler, right?
Yep.
Jay Fiedler was a very good game manager. This part of Tom Brady's career, he was a game manager. And if we're gonna look at this by the same token, 2003, which is the next year after that 28 touchdown, he had 23 touchdowns. and 12 interceptions. And we're going to come to Tua just the next year, 4,624 yards to Tom Brady's 3,620. And on top of that, 29 touchdowns. Tua Tagovailoa's 29 touchdowns and 14 interceptions. Well, obviously, we know how Tom Brady's career turned out. We're not going to debate the greatest of all time because you don't get these many Super Bowls and say that you're not. At the same time, if we were to go back and see Tom Brady and say he was going to be the greatest of all time, no one would have believed you. I'm not saying that Tua is going to be the greatest of all time, but if we don't give the guy a chance and say at this point in time to give him a contract, because I'm going into my next point. The contracts going into this year for the quarterbacks are very big contracts. We're not going to talk about Patrick Mahomes at $450 million for 10 years because that's that's a different situation. On a per year basis, Joe Burrow
per year is the main thing. Yeah,
per year basis, Joe Burrow, $55 million a year.
Yep.
I'm looking at Joe Burrow's stats right now, and he deserves it. Even though he's been in and out with injuries every year, always had some kind of injury issue, the man has produced. Just last year, he had 15 touchdowns to 6 interceptions on 10 games played. We all know it was a bad year for him, but the year prior, went to the playoffs, 16 games played. It was 4,475 yards, 35 touchdowns to 12 interceptions.
Okay.
This guy, he deserves those $55 million. That's why he got it. Now,
remember, he took the Bengals to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, he took the Bengals to the Super Bowl. He deserves it. He deserves it. That's why he got that extension. Now, do I believe that Tua's going to command that kind of money? No, because we all know that he's not going. That he had the prior year. He had that issue with the injury with the concussions, and we also know that this year he had the issues with beating the big teams and losing the way that he did up there in the cold in Kansas City, and the game prior in Buffalo. I'm not gonna debate that, but we do see progression. And if I'm not gonna say that he's a bad quarterback because he's not. He is generally very accurate with the football. It's just decisions that he makes sometimes aren't always the best, and especially in key situations. And in my opinion, the clutch gene is not a gene. It's something that happens with time. Tom Brady wasn't clutch in the very beginning.
That's totally false.
No, totally false. He wasn't clutch in the beginning.
He was clutch in his first year when against the Raiders. He drove them down the field in that snow to tie the game, and then to win it at the divisional round. Okay. Then in the Super Bowl, he drove them for the game-winning kick. So yes, I'm not the biggest Brady fan, but I do admit greatness. That year, yes, he was a game manager, but when the moment needed to come, Brady drove the team. Something that Tua hasn't even been able to do. Okay. Brady drove the team to get a field goal. So he was clutch from the beginning.
Oh, the only clutch person in that situation was his kicker. Come on. Let's not be honest. The first 3 Super Bowls, the first 3 Super Bowls were one off of kicks kicks. Come on, man.
Yeah, but who drove on the field?
Come on, Fredo. Yeah, we've had this discussion too many times, bro.
Who drove him to the field?
That's fine.
Has Tua been able to do that?
No. I'm not saying that Tua is the clutch guy. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that he deserves this extension. Just don't pay him the way that he would command the $55 million. No, pay him in the late 40s or something along those lines.
So are you fine settling with Kirk Cousins for multiple seasons?
Kirk Cousins in his situation and over there where the Vikings was not the problem. Yeah, so I'm fine with that.
So do
Yes,
you know how Kirk Cousins, what he's known for?
choking.
He would choker.
Yeah, you.
So would
Okay,
you be fine paying that for all those years?
listen,
Because that's what you'll be getting.
I know for a fact that there are quarterbacks in this league right now that don't have the clutch gene in them and are getting paid. So and have gotten paid in the past.
Okay, but that's
So
fine. That's their mistake.
mhm.
But I'm not going to help
and
my
had good teams take them the distance. So I'm not. This is another thing that I want to get to. If you pay Tua Tagovailoa and you pay him under what all these guys are getting paid, which is 50
I'll,
million,
let's have
52
the
million.
totals here. I'm gonna break it down. Joe
Right.
Burrow, 55 million. Patrick
Mm-hmm.
Mahomes, 52 million.
Mm-hmm.
Justin Herbert,
52
52.5.
million. Mm-hmm.
Lamar Jackson, 52. Jalen
Mm-hmm.
Hurts, 51.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron Rodgers, 50.3. Russell Wilson, 49 million. Kyler Murray, 46.1. Deshaun Watson, 46 million. Josh
Mm-hmm.
Allen, 43 million. Those are the top 10.
Yes, those are the top 10. If Tua would accept a contract with between the maybe then you didn't say Daniel Jones, but there you go. If Tua would accept a contract within the Daniel Jones, Josh Allen range, that's a bargain. That's a bargain because we know that he's a decent quarterback. He's a good, in my opinion, he's a good quarterback. I don't think he's a bad quarterback, but he just when the lights are brightest, sometimes he doesn't do what needs to be done.
And
And
that's
in
the
my
most
opinion,
important thing. What?
but it
That's the
doesn't.
most
It's not
important thing.
always. But it's not. Where a quarterback doesn't always have to be the guy to do that. It doesn't. It isn't always on the quarterback when things don't go the right way. How many times have we seen routes not being run right? And it looks like if it was Tua's decision to throw it there and it wasn't. You have the all 22 film. We could look at it throughout the whole year and see what Tua's done, and versus good teams and bad teams. When he beats teams that he needs to beat. If next year comes around and he balls out, he's not going to get paid 40 million, 45 million, or just under 50. He's going to command 55 plus $1 million a year.
Okay, I'll take it.
And what happens to teams once they pay their quarterback that kind of money?
Okay,
They
but
never,
if he won
never
you the
make it.
Super Bowl or got you to a Super Bowl, that's good enough.
So okay, so you're okay with paying for what somebody has done and not what they're going to do.
Exactly. I mean, here's the thing, because then you're gonna be stuck for multiple years, and you're gonna
Mm-hmm.
be like the Vikings, like the Bengals when they had Andy Dalton. I mean, there's a lot of different. Look at the Cardinals now. They're paying Kyler Murray $46 million. Do
Okay.
you think that they wish they can get out of that contract? I like to keep myself flexible and always have the belief that you should be drafting a quarterback every year until you find the one. And that's the thing. I do not want the Dolphins to be stuck in a bad contract,
Mm-hmm.
bad, that they cannot maneuver with an average quarterback. And I'm not saying Tua's average. I think he is above average.
Okay.
But
So
the
so you're
clutch,
okay. You're okay with being the Cleveland Browns, which we're getting paying for quarterbacks, trading for quarterbacks, and drafting quarterbacks all for forever until you find somebody and maybe never find them.
well, I mean, it's better than trying, because if you already know that Tua has hit his ceiling,
We're not
you
talking
know,
about listen, and we're not talking about Ryan Tannehill, Alfredo. We knew what Ryan Tannehill was, and he wasn't going to get it anywhere. He wasn't going to get us anywhere.
well,
We knew
they're both
he.
they're both the same right now.
Well, they both don't have a Super Bowl, but
They haven't
but
even won a playoff game.
look at this. Ryan Tannehill has gone to the playoffs. Ryan Tannehill, when he went to the playoffs, he won a game with throwing less than 100 yards.
Yeah, no, I'm not gonna count when he was in Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
But with the Dolphins, he only took the Dolphins to the playoffs 1 year. And that 1 year that they went to the playoffs, he got hurt toward the end, and it was Matt Moore, the
Matt
one
Moore.
who basically was the quarterback at that time. But he did get the majority, so he'll get some of the credit. But still, same as Tua, as of right now, is only one one playoff appearance, no playoff victories.
No, you're right about that one. The only difference from what I'm saying and what you're saying is that you would rather not pay Tua now at, at
Well,
all.
here's the thing: if next year I still have doubts, I can put the tag. I just don't want to commit long terms. That's the problem. And that's the question I know you were asking about committing to a long term. No, I would only go with next year 5 year option.
Mhm.
If somewhat questioned, but he's not worth it to cut, then I'll put him in a tag. And then even the next year after that, I can put him in a tag. So
All right, listen. At the end of the day, we're Miami Dolphins fans. We don't have allegiances to any player. We're not Tuanons. We're not against Tua. We both like Tua. We both think that Tua is a decent player, but we want the Dolphins to make it to be a good team for a long time.
okay.
Obviously, we both have
Well,
different ways about going about it.